We are getting started a little bit early. Give ourselves a minute to connect, and there we go. Let some people get on here. Maybe send out some messages. I'm actually probably killing my RAM right now. Killing my RAM. Man, that text-to-speech did not work properly. Live control room. Just give me the link to the video. No, not entertainment. News and politics. Welcome, welcome. Go ahead and say hello. Nice to have you. Today we're going to be talking about domestic civil service, how we can leverage our young adults and military to actually, make things better. Cool. Does it want to give me a link to the video? Maybe not. Yeah, we'll go back over to Twitter. Should have auto-tweeted. I will share that in a couple places. Live right now.
Physical things happening to your body. The
main one
being like the tingling sensation.
That was not supposed to begin playing that video. That's kind of hilarious. Okay. All right, let's bring my face back on screen. That all disappeared for a sec, but that's all right. All right, cool. So if you're here on any platform, whether it's Twitter or Twitch or Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, go ahead and say hello in the chat. Say something. Give me a holla, let me know you're here, because we are going to start talking a little bit about domestic civil service a little bit. Yeah, so right now we spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars every year on our military. A lot of that goes toward fighting wars, endless wars overseas, a lot of them undeclared, military occupations that are totally unnecessary. The main reason we continue with them is military contractors who lobby representatives in Congress, as well as the President of the United States, to basically give them egregious amounts of money for a lot of things we don't need in the military. Basically what it leads to is loss of life. It leads to global destabilization. It leads to refugee crises that then we deal with at our own borders. And we have all these resources being poured into it, and it's just a whole lot of nonsense. And I think if you ask most Americans, do you think we got a lot of work we got to do right here in the US? Many of them would say yes. So whether you're talking about infrastructure like roads or friendly city projects or waterways or electrical grid stabilization, especially here in Texas, right? So getting renewables up and running. If we're talking about natural disaster prevention, right? What from forest fires to dealing with rising sea levels and more intense hurricanes, droughts and floods, in dealing with those in various areas. Of course, the United States is a very dynamic and great diversity of climate throughout the country. Restoring lands to pre-industrial health. Now we're kind of getting out of infrastructure, but so that's infrastructure. Whether it is restoring lands to pre-industrial health, which is something that Indigenous folks talk about all the time, and the importance of that, both for just taking care of our planet and the environment, as well as just living in a healthier world, a more positive world. Other forms of domestic civil service include direct disaster relief, so kind of what FEMA does. It includes, all sorts of things that we call volunteer work. Whether you're talking about food banks, right, handing out food, or you're talking about, social services with, helping folks who are homeless get back up on their feet. It's a very broad category. You could throw childcare under there. Foreign civil service, one of the things that we do with that with the Department of State handles is helping American families to adopt children from overseas. Okay, well, what about adopting children who are in the U.S.? We have so many children in the foster care system and in the orphanage system who need good, loving, caring parents. So, of course, dealing with that from an economic front will also help. But we can create classes or better training for that, because there are a lot of foster parents who actually are incredibly abusive, and the complexities of that whole system it's complex, and so there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that space. But so the list goes on and on and on. But the point I'm making is that we can shift our focus and our resources from destabilizing other countries overseas to domestic civil service. We can bring our troops home, but still have them work and work on projects here. We can have projects for young adults out of high school. Maybe everybody gets 2 years fully paid for domestic civil service programs around the country, and we can intentionally try to ensure that people are working with diverse groups of people. And the reason for that is because people are tolerant of what they experience every day. And again, I'm not forcing anybody necessarily to perform this civil service, but if they were going to, that would be part of it, is exposure as well, and to understand different viewpoints. There is value in diversity so long as there are not other motives that wash or wipe it out, that kind of overpower it, such as like profit motives. So on a board of directors for a corporation, diversity for the sake of diversity doesn't mean much. However, so we can leverage that. We get to know more about each other and our neighbors. One thing I would love to do in that program would be to send young adults off to work with Indigenous tribes around the country to work on restoring lands to their pre-industrial health. There's all sorts of creative ideas that we can have in this space for people who like jobs programs. This is, I think, a really great, healthy, and productive way to get people working in a capacity that's healthy and positive for the country and for themselves. I mean, the skill sets gained and the training from performing domestic civil service and the experience gained from it is invaluable. And I have nothing against older folks doing it too. Like, I don't care what age you are, really, to be totally honest. I'm not trying to force child labor here or whatever, but there's a lot of really cool things we can do here. I don't have like a super huge fleshed out plan, because I think that this is absolutely something that we can be flexible with. I think this is a very flexible idea, and we should have a lot of input. If anybody who's watching right now has input on different kinds of programs or things we could do with domestic civil service, I'd love to hear from you. Throw it in the chat right now. I'd love to talk about it, have a conversation about it. But it's there's a lot of really cool stuff going on, or a lot of really cool ideas, I should say, that we can do around this. And I think putting a focus on this can help us to get back to a more sensible, or help us restore a lot of what we've lost. Honestly, there is a lot that we've lost over time in not maintaining our infrastructure, and some of the destruction that we've seen from negligence or corporations, or just the long-term effects of putting a bunch of carbon in the atmosphere and oceans. So there's there are a variety of things we can do in this space that I think would be incredibly positive. So this is something that I just started recently. I've been thinking about it for a while, but I wanted to just pick kind of a lighter, easier topic. Sometimes get a little bit intense when we start talking about like homelessness and economic despair and how that affects like human psychology. So I'm going to do a little something lighter, but anybody who's watching, if you have any input, anything you want to add, or say questions you have, even if it's not related to this, I'm always down to talk about whatever topics people are interested in talking about. So if you have specific questions for me on other topics, you can always throw them in these live streams every week. I am thinking about, this is totally separate. Fireside, that Mark Cuban app, I guess they're adding video support to that. I might be interested in doing that for these live streams. I'd love to be able to bring another person on, make it a little bit less formal. I think that'd be a cool idea. I'd love to hear what people think about that, but I like the idea of like I could just have an audience and then I can just bring one person forward and it's just me and them for a while people are listening and watching. I wish there was a desktop app for it. That's the thing. I like the accessibility of having this stream on so many different platforms all at once simultaneously, being able to respond to the comments in the chat. But I've also thought about putting up some kind of visual, just having a little game going on in the background or something. But yeah, there are other interesting ideas. If you've got something, you can let me know. But all right, well, I'm not gonna keep pushing forward or dragging this out if there's nothing else substantial to talk about. But for those of you who have joined, I was glad to have you. And I guess that's it. All right. Peace.